What's the matter? You've got this perplexed expression on your face. You seem confused. Is something not going how you expected it to? Hold on. I'll bring you to where you need to go. Boo. Did I alarm you? Well, sorry. That wasn't my intention. Or was it? If you need some time to recollect yourself, I won't hold it against you. After all, it is a completely natural reaction to being scared. It's my pleasure to make your dearest acquaintance. As you can see, I am a ghost, but not just any ordinary ghost. I am the legendary, immoral spirit hunter, Hoon. You haven't heard of me cause if you did, it would usually mean you did something quite grievous. Or maybe you're stuck in purgatory and are in desperate need of a guide. Normally, those would be the only reasons why you might know me. However, as of today, there is a third reason. Hujimemashite minasan, sorewa watashi no Fun desu. 안녕하세요 여러분, 저는 유령 사냥꾼 유령 훈입니다. I know we just met, but I bet you have plenty of questions for me. I ask that you hold on to your questions, for I will get to them later in this stream. Before we go any further, I wanted to let you guys know a bit more about me. I was once a normal, living student like any of you are or were, but now I'm an apparition. As you already know, I was resurrected in the very high school I used to attend, and although I don't get out much, I do sometimes leave the school to do what I have to. Lucky for me, I tend to be a fast and efficient worker. I know that sentence there sounded like I was applying for a job, but I can assure you, I am not. The school has become a sort of makeshift home for me. It's quite a nice school actually. It's been remodeled plenty of times, it's spacious, all the equipment is up to date, and there's enough room for all my stuff without people ever suspecting a thing. Basically, I've made a special room for myself in this school over the years, hidden by very thick walls. I don't need to use doors, so that means that only I can even access this room. In my room, I have my figure collection, my bed, my wardrobe, my desk, my recording equipment, and of course, my computer. I know what you guys might be thinking. Hoon, how did you acquire such things? Let me let you in on a little secret. I have been... how should I put this? Borrowing funds from the school over the past few decades. You see, when you're a ghost like me, passwords aren't necessarily as secure as you might think. No, I'm not referring to your guys' passwords, just the passwords that are related to the school. Relax, I cover my tracks by writing off my purchases off as educational necessities. I also mastered purchases that seem unrelated to the school as something else entirely. Also, I take things here and there. Nothing that the school would miss, of course. Look, I never said I was a saint. However, I am always sure to give the tax rebates back to the school. So, that's something to consider, right? If I could pay back the school better, I definitely would. In addition, I do get paid to ghost hunt. But it's not like I'm being paid in the same currency as the world of the living. Trust me, the things that I can purchase aren't things like computers, microphones, or, more importantly, figures. At this point, you might have noticed how I haven't mentioned the name of the school, and that I'm only referring to the school generally. No duh, detective. I'm not going to dox myself, and I don't plan to either. Although, if you must know, this school is a school here in Korea. Somewhere here in Korea. That's all you're getting out of me. I should also mention I get bored from time to time, and I may or may not have a problem with serial pranking. You see, I prank the students and staff mostly at night. As you would imagine, though, exorcists have been called in to deal with the school's ghost problem. Not to worry, they can't hurt me because I'm not a vengeful spirit. Instead, I find them to be pretty annoying. So I deal with them by messing with them. You know, I might speak utter nonsense when they're reciting some gibberish, or even erasing their weird markings with my foot or something. There are just more affairs I thought I ought to let you know before I start my slides that I prepared for you guys today. Well then, let's get to the slides now. The Prince of Gehenna. Now, I'm no prince, but if the opportunity ever arises to be of royal blood, or in this case just royalty, I'd be crazy to turn that down, right? As for my profile, you know me as Hoon, but did you know that in Korean, my name is Hoon? All jokes aside, in Japanese, my name is actually pronounced Fun. As for my roles, you know that I am the legendary immoral spirit hunter and an official guide in purgatory. So, if you ever lose your way in the afterlife and you need a guide, look no further, for I will assist you. That is, of course, assuming you didn't do any malicious crimes. As for my age, since I kicked the bucket, let's say, in my final year of high school, technically that would make me 18, at least on the physical side of things. As for my actual age, well, you see, I'm not too sure, because when I was resurrected, I wasn't resurrected with all of my memories intact. I have certain memories of when I was human, but they're kind of like a scattered dream. I remember things here and there, but it's not like I'm picking what I remember and what I don't remember. What I do remember, of course, is my birthday, which so happens to be on May 31st. And as for my height, I am 178 centimeters. And if you must know, that roughly is about 5'10". As for languages, I am a native English speaker. I like to think I'm fairly fluent in Korean, and I want to learn Japanese. Also, it's not important, but I may be a bit of a perfectionist. Just a little. Yeah, I don't know why I mentioned it. Moving on. As for my backstory, there was once a student who roamed amongst the living. As fate would have it, that student wasn't meant for the world for much longer. Some students finish high school and move on to the next chapters of their life. However, this was no average student. On Halloween, in his final year, he met a tragic end. For a while, he stayed dead with no more signs of life. That was until judgment was set upon him. He had been wrongfully robbed of a normal life. With no prior offenses, the Committee of Souls had decided he was to become a special kind of spirit hunter. They had handed him a few tools, and since then, have been watching him from a distance. In the midst of these tools, there is the Soul Piercer, the Umbra Sealer, the Ethereal Compass, and finally, the Eye of Conclusion. Although he does not keep in close contact with the committee, he is still well informed on what he must do. This also gives him a lot of freedom to do what he pleases, without much interference on how he uses his time. Nevertheless, a part of him still yearns to know who he was, what he strived to do, when he was alive, where his ambitions would have taken him, and why someone would choose him to be a ritualistic sacrifice. Now, I mentioned the tools of the spirit hunter. In this slide, I wanted to go a little bit more in depth about that. Starting off, we have the Soul Piercer, a vertically double-barrel revolver that pierces through most matters of existence and contains limitless amounts of ammunition due to the bullets being an extension of the spirit. So basically, when I said pierces through most matters of existence, that doesn't exclude humans. Not that that's ever happened before, but the Committee of Souls, before handing me the Soul Piercer, was very thorough and clear that that's something that can happen. So I'm very, very cautious, and I'm very, let's say, trigger disciplined. So that's not something to concern with too much. Yeah. And when I said that the Soul Piercer contains limitless amounts of ammunition, what I meant by that is, so basically, I will never run out of ammunition so long as I exist. That's it. Then, of course, we have the Umbra Sealer, a polearm based on the ancient Korean weapon, the Wurdo, which roughly translates to Moonblade. Umbra Sealer is meant to cut through any and all forces of opposition easier than even a hot knife through butter. It can also come apart in the middle to fit more snug in the sheath on my back. So, one thing you should know about the Umbra Sealer is that, like the Soul Piercer, the blade, any of the bladed parts are technically lit by my soul energy. So, for, let's say, some particular reason you were to end up with the Umbra Sealer, which is unlikely, but let's entertain the thought. Well, you see, the blades would not ignite. Think of it a little bit like a lightsaber. Not fully like a lightsaber, of course, but basically, you wouldn't want to put your hand where the bladed parts are, and, well, it's kind of just a overglorified stick if anyone other than myself were to have the Umbra Sealer. Then, of course, is the Ethereal Compass. You might have noticed that that compass is the exact same compass here on my breast pocket. You see, unlike most compasses, or any normal compass, this isn't a compass that I need to take out. So long as I have it on me, I have all the effects of the compass. And that compass is used to keep track of any and all beings in any state of existence within proximity. It's linked to my eyes, so yeah, I don't need to take it out, and I'm able to use all the effects to my advantage. Then, of course, is the Eye of Conclusion, a special kind of eye given by the committee that is capable of glimpsing into the affinity of any being in existence, as well as being able to mentally and physically drag said beings into a sort of pocket dimension. One where the rules are set by the beholder of said eye, often used as a final resort when the target leaves no other options of reason available. Yes, if you're thinking that that eye is the eye behind my eye patch, then you'd be right. Would you like to see said eye? Here you go. Now, I hope you don't mind, but you see, it was getting kind of itchy behind that eye patch, so for the sake of the rest of the stream and the presentation, I plan to just continue without it on. Also, I should also mention, you shouldn't look too deeply into the eye for long exposures of time. You see, although the eye of conclusion, I admit, is a very pretty eye, it may cause, well, slight insanity. Next, we have likes. Now, to start off, this list is activities, but I couldn't find anywhere else to put activities, so they're kind of just here. So bear with me. Starting off, of course, we have ghost hunting, which, obviously. Then there's keeping the peace between the realms of the living and the undead. And of course, being clean. You could probably chalk this up to OCD a little bit, because it's not something that I like to do. It's something that I have to do. So basically, if I feel unclean or if I am unclean, I can't quite focus like I'd like to. So yeah, just something to consider. Next, of course, we have hobbies. First is pulling pranks, floating, facing through objects and obstacles. I do walk from time to time, but when you can face through objects and obstacles, it's kind of hard to just want to walk all the time, you see? Yeah, it's kind of like there are no barriers, but I don't have X-ray vision and no spirit does either, not to my knowledge, so you can't quite see what room you're getting into, but it's not a problem. Doors are a thing of the past for us. Then, of course, is singing, playing games, watching YouTube videos, watching movies and shows, collecting figures, creative writing, reading, building Gunpla, which is Gundam model kits, and then there's Legos, like Bionicle. Although, if I'm being completely honest, I haven't built a Bionicle in a long time, mainly due to the fact that they're very expensive. So that's why I build more Gunpla. And the misconception is that you build Bionicle and then get into Gundam model kits. But for me, it was the opposite. I don't know. It's not that important, but I just wanted to mention it. And then, of course, there's voice impressions. Unfortunately, I don't have any prepared for you guys today. Although, keep an eye out, or better yet, keep an ear out for the future. Then we have anime. Now, this is by no means all the anime I've ever watched, and it's not in really any particular order. But yeah, without further ado, there's Violet Evergarden, which actually so happens to be my favorite. Then there's Gundam. Then there's Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Oh, actually, before we move on to the rest of the list, with Gundam, you see, I know how the general consensus feels about mecha anime, but Gundam is different. You see, it's a show. Well, it's a property that's existed since the 1970s, and it's still going on pretty strong today. So there's gotta be a reason for that. That and all the stories are quite relevant to today, actually. So surprisingly enough, you might actually find Gundam to be a little surprise you never thought about. Mecha is a highly underrated anime and highly hated anime genre, but I'm not too sure why. With Gundam, I guess the main reason why a lot of people are a little afraid to start Gundam is that they have this misconception that Gundam is a show that has one continuous story that has existed since the 1970s to now. And if you think that, well, you're only partially right. You see, that is considered the UC timeline, which is, yes, one consecutive, ongoing, let's say, anthology of shows that are actually connected. But did you know that Gundam actually has an anthology of shows that are not connected to one another or the UC timeline? You have your God Gundam, Gundam Wing, Gundam X, Seed, Double O, Iron Blooded Orphans, and most currently we have The Witch from Mercury, which is actually a really good watch. And if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it, and you should just give it a try. You know, I think the story is very fun, and the messages are very, let's say, it's very relevant to today. Then there's Jibaku Shonen Hanako-kun, which is Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. Then Quintessential Quintuplets, Wotapan no Hanayome, Kill la Kill, Quadruple S Gridman, Yu Yu Hakusho, Bleach, Neon Genesis Evangelion, My Dress Up Darling, Sono Biscuit wa Koi wo Suru, Spy Family, Jujutsu Kaisen, Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai, JoJo's, K-On!, Futopia, Ahaden-san wa Hakarenai, Akatsuki no Yona, Bochi the Rock, Konosubarashi Sakai ni Shukufuku wo, which is just Konosuba, Lycurus Recoil, Code Geass, Chainsaw Man, and then there's Sergeant Frog, which actually I watched a lot of in Korean when it was still airing on TV in Korea. Unfortunately, since it's so rooted in my memories, I have tried to enjoy that show both in English and Japanese, but they don't quite hit the same footnotes for me, so I haven't been able to quite revisit the show like I'd like to. So, if you, for some reason, have a source where I can actually watch Sergeant Frog, which is also known as Keredo in Korean, then yeah, shoot me up the source. You can find me on any of my socials under Ghostly Hoon. Please, I really want to revisit this show, so if someone knows something, please let me know. Continuing likes, there is books. Now, even before I start reading off the list of books, I wanted to talk about the fact that I actually got more into reading earlier, well, at this point, last year, in 2022, and it was part of my New Year's resolution to get more into reading and to read a book a month, which unfortunately wasn't able to be fulfilled just because preparing all this, it took a while, so I had to unfortunately put that on the side. Also, you might think that I could have probably made this list longer by adding books that I've read in school, but I didn't want to add books that I read in school because I was forced to read them opposed to reading books that I chose to read and actually enjoying them myself. And also, I have more to talk about with books, but I'll get more into that later. In my list of books that I like, of course, there's Weathering with You, The Great Gatsby, I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, and The Last Tycoon. Oh, and Fahrenheit 451. With The Great Gatsby and Fahrenheit 451, I'm very familiar with the fact that both books are part of the school curriculum at some point. But I love these books so much that I came back and revisited these books, and surprise, surprise, yeah, I still love these books. Then there's Weathering with You and I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. And I'm fully aware that there are anime movie adaptations of both, but if you haven't already watched them, I really, really heavily I suggest that you hold off from watching those movies and read the books first. And if you haven't read the books yet, I ask you to hold off on that because I have bigger plans for both books. You see, although the movie adaptations of both of these, Weathering with You and I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, are really good, they just don't quite have all the dialogue and the inner dialogue that a character might have. And there are certain scenes that are just cut out altogether. So the book is actually really good for that. And for that reason alone, it is better to read it first and then watch it. But I guess the biggest problem I have with both Weathering with You and I Want to Eat Your Pancreas as movies are that I feel that they're way too short. And then, of course, with The Great Gatsby, that is written by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and I loved reading The Great Gatsby a lot. And so when I revisited the book, I was reminded why I like this book so much. And so that inspired me to check out other books that were written by F. Scott Fitzgerald. But unfortunately, The Last Tycoon barely even makes this list, and Tender as the Night wasn't quite the book for me. Then, of course, there are comics. And I know, before I even get into it, there might be a slight bias, but I'm not gonna apologize for being a big Batman fan. So, have at it, if you will. First off, we have Batman Nightfall. Then there's Batman Beyond from 2012 to 2013. Then there's The Killing Joke, Flashpoint 2011, Batman Hush, Batman Year One. Then there's Doomsday Clock from 2017 to 2019. As much as I like the DC Metal events, I didn't quite expect it to go the way that it went after reading Doomsday Clock. And I kind of wish that the stories didn't delve too heavily into just Batman, which is crazy coming out of me because I am a big Batman fan, but there are a lot of lovable DC characters that just don't get enough love, that got a lot of build up during Doomsday Clock, and I don't seem to think that they truly pay off. So there's that. Then there's games. And to start off, there's Final Fantasy, which actually I have a sort of goal, if you will, with Final Fantasy to go through as many of them as possible. I have all the Final Fantasies in my Steam library right now, and I plan to play all of them and stream them. And excluding the MMORPGs. So 11 and 14 are out, and I don't think 11 is available for Steam anyways. But for everything else, I wanted to do these to do a series of streams playing Final Fantasy for people that are interested in Final Fantasy but don't have the time, or maybe they think that Final Fantasy is interesting, but they're not really into RPGs. And if you're not a fan of turn-based RPGs, I totally understand it, which is why I want to do this. I'm not an expert in Final Fantasy. I've only played a handful of them, but I really enjoy them, and I just want to be able to talk about Final Fantasy with more people in my life. Because as it is, there really isn't anyone that I could talk about Final Fantasy with, let alone just anyone to talk to. So then there's BioShock. Now, this might be a bit controversial, which I'm not too sure, because I'm not too sure where people's opinions about the games are, but I'm not a big fan of Infinite, which is a prequel to BioShocks 1 and 2. I'm sure that there are people that really, love the game, but it's not for me. In fact, my favorite is actually 2, which might also be controversial in itself. But yeah, this might be a bit of a slight spoiler, but BioShock Infinite has been out for years now, so yeah. I already mentioned that BioShock Infinite is a prequel to the games. And actually, the city of Rapture, which is the city under the sea, was the city in Infinite. It used to be a city that floated above the clouds. So, then there's Halo. I enjoyed all of Halo, except I didn't really enjoy 5 for the campaign mostly. And I didn't really like the multiplayer either. Not that Infinite's any better, but it has gotten a little better. And I still do play Infinite, so there's that. And also, Halo 1 on itself is probably the FPS that has the most time clocked in from me. Just because it was my favorite FPS game. I'm not too sure what it is now these days, but it used to be the only game I used to play. So, yeah, Halo does hold a pretty special place in my heart. Then there's Star Wars KOTOR, which is Knights of the Old Republic. And if you ask me which one I like more between 1 and 2, I'm just going to respond both. You see, both of them have their pros and cons, and none of them really outweigh one another, so yeah, both. Not to be confused with the MMORPG. I'm not into that. Then there's Fallout New Vegas, which is, in my opinion, the best Fallout. Then there's Metal Gear Solid 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, because, I'll be honest, I don't have plans to play the first one, and I wasn't really interested in playing the first one in the first place. I just was really curious about the second one, and that just kind of came about. Then there's Nier Automata, Nier Replicant, Devil May Cry, Resident Evil, Tekken, Undertale, the Batman Arkham series, Star Wars Battlefront, excluding the first EA Battlefront, Mortal Kombat, Genshin Impact, although I do not have plans to stream Genshin Impact, so please don't ask. Then there's Cyberpunk 2077 these days, not to be confused with what Cyberpunk was at launch. And although it's not quite the game that we were promised, it has come a long way, and it's still getting updates, so it's definitely worth checking out these days. Then there's Kingdom Hearts. Now, again, I'm not too sure about the legality of Kingdom Hearts because it is heavily involved with Disney, but with Final Fantasy, it's kind of the same thing with Kingdom Hearts. I want to do a series of streams for Kingdom Hearts to get more people into it, but I'm not too sure how legal it is. So I'll try and I'll do my research, but for now, put that as a maybe. Then there's Minecraft, FPS games, RPG games, but I prefer more hack and slash over turn-based. I'm not a big turn-based guy myself. Indie games, party games, games with engaging stories, worlds, and a bit of fighting games, but I'm not very good. And please don't mistake this as a sort of, oh, that's what all professionals say, cause I can assure you, I am no professional. And then we have food. To start off, we have bread, which is kind of general and kind of vague, but basically, I haven't really ever had any sort of bread that I don't like. And bread can be enjoyed in, well, numerous settings and numerous ways. So, yeah, bread. Then there's burgers, and I eat my burgers medium rare, but I'm aware that certain people eat their burgers well done. Now, it's not my place to judge, but let's just say it's okay to be wrong. Then there's tonkasu, which is tonkatsu in Japanese. Tonkasu is the Korean. And in the West, it's, I believe, translated to pork cutlets. And then there's sweets of all sorts, because I have a insane sweet tooth. And all sorts of Korean dishes. But of course, out of all these foods, My favorites are katsudon and toku. Now, I don't think I need to explain katsudon. It's a pretty popular dish, but tteokguk is a fairly unknown dish. I know that a lot of people are into Korean food these days, but this isn't one of those dishes that I hear about. So basically, tteokguk is a sort of broth that is a little bit on the thicker side that's topped off with cut up rice cake, bits of rice cakes, topped off with egg, kim, which is seaweed, and dumplings. Am I missing anything? And dumplings for soups. And then, of course, your choice of how much salt and pepper you want to put in your broth. Oh, and the green onions. It's really good, and it's not talked about nearly enough. So, if you ever get the chance to try it out, let me know what you think. The good, the bad, if you liked it, if you hated it, if you thought it was okay. But if you hated it, yeah, it's okay to be wrong. And then, of course, I have to stress that I love Kamen Rider. Now, Kamen Rider is a series that I've always wanted to start for a long time, but I never really had the time, so it's just kind of been sitting at the back of my mind until sometime in 2020, which was the time that I, and I assume most of you as well, just had a lot more time. So I checked it out, and to no surprise, I really liked it. I started with Generation 2, and I've been going in order. Although in the beginning, I didn't start in any particular order. I started off with Build and Ryuki. Yeah, these shows are really cool. And unlike Sentai, which is Power Rangers in the West, which is also part of the genre of Tokusatsu, I wouldn't show Kamen Rider to kids most times. The subject matter can be quite grim, and it's a lot more violent than I thought. Now, by no means is every Kamen Rider show perfect. More times than not, they're just decent. But I really like the overall message and theme of what Kamen Riders stand for. And I just really like the suits. I like the suits a lot more than like the Sentai Power Ranger type suits. And I've been watching Generation 2. I'm not caught up by any means. I am watching Geats right now. And I have finished a good chunk of Generation 2 and 2.5. But I'm still working through it. Yeah. Well, moving on. Onwards to dislikes. To start, we have working out. Now, I still do it, but working out is not fun. Not to be confused with sports. Sports are fun. You see, sports, you gain points, and it's kind of like a game. And the fact that there is that level of sportsmanship makes sports actually quite fun. But with working out, you're just, laying there, standing there, or whatever, and just like lifting weights or whatever. I don't enjoy it, and if I didn't have my music, I don't know if I could even get through it. Then there's repetition. Now, what I mean by that is that I don't like having to repeat something or anything at all over and over again, because it gets really taxing and tiring, so I'm not a big fan myself. And specifically, when days kind of just start to feel the same day in and day out within each week, and your only means of rest is the weekends, yeah, I don't like that either, because I like to think that my days are special. But if I live a schedule like that, or if I live through a schedule like that, it really breaks the spirit. No pun intended, of course. Then there's stress-induced work. Now, I don't think anyone enjoys doing stress-induced work. So, yeah, that's why that's why it's here. as well as being stressed. Well, being stressed, who actually likes, not being able to think straight, not being able to focus, not able to work to the best of their ability, or being really extra cranky? None of these things are appealing, and it's not like people that are stressed actually like to do these things either. But yeah, that's the reasons why I don't like, being stressed myself. Then there's unnecessary time pressures. Now, I'm actually very good with due dates and deadlines. I usually don't miss anything, and I'm very, very updated on what I must do. But on the off chance I do forget, I may ask somebody, which then I'm okay with. But if you're just trying to annoy me by telling me something's due soon when I'm very aware, it's very, very annoying. Then, of course, there's exorcists. I mentioned them earlier, but I doubt that any of you guys have ever had firsthand experience of what it's like to be exorcised. But it's really, really weird. It's kind of like they're trying to do a finger light show, but none of it is appealing. And also, what's with those chants? Those chants do absolutely nothing for the most part. So, exorcists, you might want to look into other methods for spirit hunting or warding off, evil spirits. Then there's studying subjects I'm not into, which, if you've gone to school, you can relate. My personal belief is that school is kind of a outdated business model. When you force people to learn, you're kind of just cramming it all into your brain and not truly learning the concepts. So, yeah. How could I be into being forced to study things I'm not into? Then, there's narrow-minded individuals. Now, what that means is that I am not a fan of people who don't let others have opinions and are just very one note. Like they're not willing to try new things or broaden their horizons, and they're just stuck thinking in one way for the rest of their, well, maybe not the rest of their life, but for a very, very long time. And so, if you're a person like that, you and I probably won't mix, like oil and water. Not to be, well, I understand if you're a sort of person that has certain ideals or morals that you're not willing to look the other way for, which is all fine, but please, you should allow others to have opinions about whatever you might believe as well. Granted that they're not really rude opinions either. That could be a problem on its own. Then there's tomatoes and bell peppers. To reiterate, alone. I don't get it. I don't get how you guys like bell peppers and tomatoes alone. The texture's weird. They look weird. They taste weird. And their overall existence kind of offends my overall being. So, I don't get it. I will eat it in other food if it's present, but alone? No way. You're never gonna catch this spirit eating tomatoes or bell peppers just for the heck of it without any sort of reason to use them as a sort of ingredient for some other food. And then there's toxic behavior, which I have like a tolerance policy for toxic behavior, unless it's like for jokes or more, I guess, if it's more directed towards yourself, which is a bit concerning, and I want you to not do that. So there's that. Other than that, toxic behavior is just a absolute no for me. And then there's a metaphysical anguish. Moving on. Then, of course, we have goals. To start off, we have release original music. Now, I've been singing for years now, so the next step would be making my own music, I would assume. Then there's reading streams, and now I'm going to finish my thought that I left with you earlier when I was talking about the likes with books. Now, I want to I want to read books with you, and I want to read books on stream, and I want to make it appealing and interesting for people that may not be into reading books or are trying to get into reading books, because I tried to listen to audiobooks when I started, and I almost entirely just gave up on reading because audiobooks are kind of monotonous and kind of boring to listen to. Not to discredit the people that worked really hard to narrate these books and go through it and record themselves reading these books, but I wish that audiobooks had just taken a bit more notes with voice acting and whatnot. I want to treat it as if it was a voice acting gig. So that's what I want to do. And also, I'm not opposed to reading books that you guys might be reading in school, part of your curriculum, or maybe there are books that you want to recommend. I'm totally open to the idea of reading those books, and my reading streams, I want to have guests as well, and I want people to know if they do collaborate with me to read, that they are more than welcome to try out all sorts of voices. And since it's not like anything serious and we're not getting paid to do it, I want this to be a chance for you to try out new voices without feeling like you're going to be judged, because I won't. It's all a process. Then, of course, there's relaxing, just chatting streams and venting together. I want to build a community where you guys are, relaxed and comfortable enough with one another and myself, and we can just talk, about things that might be bothering you, things that you like, things that you don't like, things that make you mad, things that make you sad, all those things. And for the more personal ones, I'm more than, willing to make those a more members only stream. But yeah, I want to connect with you guys. And I want you guys to connect with one another. And I just want to build this positive environment, environment for us. Then there's continuing to improve my singing. Now, I'm not a bad singer by any means, but I'm fully aware that, it never hurts to try and improve and practice. There's always room for improvement. Then, of course, there's building up my self-confidence, making more friends, getting signed to a company. Right now, I'm independent, but I'm not against signing to a company so long as they can meet more or less just these two, let's say, these two rules. I can't think of anything better for now, so we'll go with that. And those exceptions being that the contract is fairly fair for me, as it is for the company, and that if I am to continue as this character, that the rights belong to me and not to the company. That's it. If you guys have any sort of, offer, I'm, more than willing to hear those out. Then, of course, there's getting better at games. Now, I'm not a pro by any means, but I'm thinking and I'm hoping that by streaming more and playing more games, I would gradually get better, and that might be more fun for you guys to watch. Then, of course, there's learning more about music, and that's more general, of course. But specifically, I want to learn piano, guitar, and producing. And then there's collaborating with other VTubers or content creators. I'm on this space, so I want to get to know who else is sharing the same space with me. And, I'm not picky. I want to meet all sorts of people, and I want to broaden my horizons about what kinds of people are out there. Then there's voice acting for shows, movies, or games, and/or games. I'm not a professional voice actor, and I have no official, real portfolio or work that I could present to anyone, but I'd like to give it a try. So if, you want to consider me, I have quite a range, and I'm definitely not against the idea. Then there's improving my Korean and learning Japanese. Now, I don't think my Korean is bad, but I can suffice from learning more vocabulary. And then, I just need to learn Japanese afterwards. Then, there's living with existential dread. And basically, life can get pretty difficult at times. And it's hard to bear all the weight of all this weight on my shoulders at times. And I'm sure that a lot of you feel the same way. So I want you guys to know that there is someone there for you. And I'm hoping that I could rely on you guys when I'm feeling low. I just want to be able to encourage one another to do better and to reach higher heights that we probably can't think about or could consider all on our own. So, yeah. Not to get really deep into things, but it's just something I wanted to talk about. So, and of course, there is connecting with you guys. For my tags, the fan symbol is the ghost emoticon. Then for general tags, it's Hoon, Hoon, Fun. For stream tag, it's Hoonline, which I'm not too happy with. And I kind of want to change it, but I'm not too sure what I would change it to. See, it's supposed to be Hoon Online, but it doesn't quite translate that way. So if you guys have any suggestions, I'm definitely okay and up for any suggestions at all. However, the art tags, the meme tag, and the fan name, I'm very happy with. The art tag is Huname, the meme tag is Humor, and of course the fan name is Hooligans, which took me a bit longer than I'd like to admit to come up with, but I'm very happy with it. As for my socials, you can find me under Ghostly Hoon on Twitter, on Twitch, the Hoon channel on YouTube, and Ghostly Hoon on Reddit. If you're watching this, you probably know that where to find me on YouTube anyways, so. Then of course, there is the early character concept, which was done by StarMom08 on Twitter, and he really helped me throughout the process. I had this idea for a design, but I don't possess the skills to draw these. So I talked to him and we talked about it back and forth. Initially, I almost made it too complicated. So he helped me to keep things fairly simple without making it too complicated or too simple. And I take credit for how the character is designed altogether. But for the weapons, that was all StarMom. So really great stuff. And if you ever get the chance to check out his work, I do recommend it. Next is the character model sheet, which was done by Harukuma on Twitter. And she was absolutely great to work with. Absolutely just a pleasure. And, she took that early concept and she drew this. And I asked her if I could add a bit more expressions, and she was totally okay with it. And actually, initially, I had someone else in mind to do the character model sheet, but that person was asking for like $2,000 for the character model sheet alone. So I told that person that I couldn't do that. And so I browsed Twitter aimlessly until I came across Hatakuma. And, the first thing I did was look at some of the work that she's done, and I was really taken aback by the sheer quality that she puts into her work. So just, absolutely amazing. And I'm so happy with the ahoge. The ahoge wasn't drawn when, Star Mom and I designed the early concept. I wanted it, but I feel like we totally forgot about it. So I asked if I could add that onto the design, and she aimlessly and flawlessly, I feel, incorporated it into the design very well. So there's that. Oh, right. And I've been talking to Hatakuma here and there, and I still keep in contact with her. And every time I talk to her, I feel that I'm lucky to have worked with her, and she's just an overall fun person to talk to. So yeah. Then there is Skymole01 or Band, who actually I've been following for a long time on Twitter, and I wanted to possibly commission him to do the the profile picture, because give me a second here. I just absolutely adore his design and his drawings, but I was initially afraid that he was gonna turn me down, because I would assume that someone with such great talent in art would be very hard to commission. But I got lucky, and I was able to commission him to do the character profile picture, which I'm actually using on pretty much all my socials. And you can find Skymole01 on Twitter and Pixiv. It's kind of a fun tidbit, kind of, but by the time he was drawing the profile picture, Hatakuma wasn't quite done with the character model sheet. So he actually drew this based on Star Mom's early concept. So I was really blown away with what he was able to present. On top of that, he warned me that he was a little afraid that he wasn't able to possibly hit the mark with the art, because he's not that familiar with drawing a lot of guy characters. But he said that he would give it a go, and I had full faith that he would do a good job. So instead of just presenting something that was a good job, he came back with absolutely an amazing piece of art. And yeah, if you guys haven't checked them out yet, I highly recommend that you do. And yeah, I also asked that he add the mascot here. I actually don't have a name for the mascot, but that mascot, the design itself, was something I came up with. But, if you have any suggestions for names and stuff, I'd look into that too. Maybe we'll have a poll for both the new live tag and the mascot name. Then the character model sheet, the early concept, and the profile picture were all sent to Watari_Tuna, who did the live 2D rigging and modeling, or Watari Mama on Twitter. And Well, I think the results really talk for, the results really show for themselves that she's a very skilled person. And at first, I wasn't very familiar with how to, you know, uh, calibrate the live 2D model and how to even use the live 2D model. So she talked me through all of it. She's incredibly sweet and incredibly skilled. So if you ever want someone to model or even rig, or maybe even both, your model, then yeah, I definitely look into how to watari mama. Sorry. Yeah. And then for the rest of the credits, I'm going to be naming off the people that I wasn't able to mention earlier, starting with Fredericks _ Morg on Twitter. And he did the trailer, which was the debut trailer for this debut. And I thought it came out really well. I wanted something simple. I told him what I wanted, and he more than delivered on his end, and deserves all the praises. And if you ever need someone to work on any sort of VTuber thing, then he's someone to consider. Although I can't really vouch for what he can do because all he did was the trailer. But from everything I've seen from his portfolio, I think he's well worth it. Then there's Anti-Vibu, which I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but they are a person on Fiverr who I commissioned to do the stream overlays, which you might have seen earlier with the starting soon. And you will see a few more in the future, especially with like gaming and ending soon and all that. I gave Anti-Vibu just the basic bare bones details of what I wanted from a stream overlay. And initially I thought I should have given him more details, but what he ended up presenting me went above expectation, and he works so quickly too. So I was really thrown back by just how fast and efficient Anti-Vibu was, or is. Technically, he's still working. And then there's Jakik. Oh no, VTuber _ designer on Fiverr. They did the transition, which is the singer transition. And initially, it wasn't. What she presented me wasn't quite what I had in mind. But we talked through it and we went through some revisions. But throughout that whole process, she was a pleasure to talk to conversate with, to work with, and the overall courage and good blessings that she bestowed upon me was really nice. So on top of just being a skilled person, if you need someone to do your transitions, I definitely recommend her. Then there's Jakik, which I might be pronouncing wrong, but I hope I'm pronouncing right, which is the person who did the thumbnail for this debut stream. And, you know, he took what was already incredible with SkyMole01's drawing, and he put that said drawing into a school at night, which I requested, and he more than delivered on. So a lot of these, or no, everyone on Fiverr that I've worked with, one, I have just positive things to say, and two, they all just went above and beyond my expectations, because I don't think they're charging as much as they should be paid for as hard as they work. So yeah. Then there's Shirokuro, who did the room design. And Shirokuro, I told him what I wanted in a room and how I wanted it to look. I even mentioned that the room would not have any doors or windows. And so that he provided that. But on top of that, he added lights and a few candles for a light source, which actually really helped the overall scene itself, the room itself. Yeah, just really fast. I think he actually beat the deadline. And yeah, it's almost pretty much exactly what I was thinking in my mind, the room that he presented. So if you need someone to do your room design, I full-heartedly recommend Shirokuro. Then there's Liquid GTX, who made the banners. I told him I wanted a bit more of a stained glass motif to fit with the Eye of Conclusion. And so he took that detail and presented what is now the banners that I'm using on like Reddit, Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. And he did an absolute phenomenal job. And yeah, I didn't tell him much, but I feel like he more than delivered what I had in mind. So that's really cool. And he was really cool about everything. All of them were, everyone here. Then there's A Castfall, which is a.castfall_. And you can find him on Instagram. His artist name is Levi with the period in all lowercase letters. In all lowercase letters. And he actually released a song in November called In Case I Don't See You, which is actually available to stream on Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Music. It's all there. So if you get the chance, please do check him out. That's because of that song is the reason why I wanted to work with him. And at first he told me that he didn't quite have a lot of experience with BGMs, and that it's not something that he wants to do a lot and often. He said he would consider it from time to time, but he made an exception for me this time just because I like to think that we had a really good conversation. And so he decided, you know what? Yeah, let's make the BGM. Now, the BGM is not done, but when it is done, I'm pretty sure you guys will notice. And from everything I've heard from the BGM, I think it's really great. And I'm actually really excited to see what you guys think about the BGM as well. Yeah, and then just a final thank you for everyone and anyone involved with my debut. Without these people, I would not have been able to debut. They all worked tirelessly, put immense skill into all their work and craftsmanship. And if you ever need to work with any of these people, or if you need anyone or any of these things that I have listed here, I recommend these people wholeheartedly. And also, if I can work with these people again, I would definitely would. Yeah. Oh, I should also mention that SkyMole has a Pixiv, which is right here underneath. And so if you need to want to go check him out outside of just Twitter, and let's say you don't have a Twitter, you can see his art here as well. All right. Now, I'll be showing off some of my assets and the room. Now, here's the room, and yeah, this is the room that Shirokuro designed, and as you can see, it's absolutely phenomenal and amazing. Just how it turned out. I was really happy with it. With the light, the light source, and the candles, don't worry about it. The candles are lit by an ethereal flame, so they exist on a different plane of existence. So, not in the same existence as my room. And they technically will burn continuously, and if not possibly forever, unless someone were to put them out. in the same plane of existence, of course. And that light is just a light. So, yeah. Also, I was really thorough about which figures I wanted in the room. And Shirokuro more than did a great job. I mentioned that I like collecting figures, which is why there's so many. I have a lot. So, yeah. I'm happy with it. I'm more than confident that he can provide you a sort of room that you would love to. Now, you saw that the... I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here. You saw that the eye of conclusion is... Well, the eye patch is removable, right? And if you need a closer look into the eye of conclusion, it looks like so. It has the stained glass motif, right? And yeah, it's very bright and nice. But again, long exposure to this eye is not quite good for you. So don't do that. Also, along with the, eye patch being removable, the hat comes off too, which is, like this. As well as a few expressions, starting with this one. You might have seen this one earlier because this is the one that I started my stream with. And usually when I, let's say, spook people, prank them, I take on this sort of appearance. Well, not quite this appearance. I have the hat and eye patch when I do it. But, yeah. Also, the eye is very nice, isn't it? Especially like this, because you see the glowing effect of the eye. Then, there's this expression, which is despair. So if you're giving me a hard time, or let's say I'm stuck in a game, part, or whatever, like this, it's despair. I specifically asked for the ghost to look this way, like the mascot. So there's that. And then there is the blushing expression. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and yeah, whatever. And now to despite, or to show off a bit more assets here, I'm going to show you my tools, the ones that I can, starting with the soul piercer, which is right here. Oh, sorry, like this. If you zoom in, it is, it looks like this, and the keychain is of my mascot. So yeah, really cute. I wanted that detail to be clear, and so yeah, it's here. And for whatever reason I'm fed up with you guys, then I could just do that. Now, I don't mean to threaten you, because I'm a spirit hunter and I hunt evil spirits, but if I point this at you, let's say you're more inclined to listen to me, right? Relax. I don't believe in ruling with a, let's say, tyrannical rule. So I'm gonna put that away. And it's all jokes. Remember, I'm very trigger disciplined, so you don't have to worry about me pulling the trigger. Then, of course, is the Umbra Sealer, which looks like this. The Umbra Sealer is quite menacing, right? Look at the ethereal blade effect altogether. And I know, it's kind of a bit of a threatening pose. So, if you want me to be a bit more neutral with my, let's say, Umbra Sealer, let's hold it like this. Now, I'm still technically holding the Umbra Sealer, but you're not too threatened now, right? Right. So, yeah, that's it. That's everything I have for you guys today. This is, this is technically a re-upload, because my debut stream had a bit of a, let's say, echoing issue. So, I fixed that. And for everything else with the audience, the live audience, I would recommend that you go back and watch the stream, debut stream from 57 minutes in and 21 seconds in. And then the echo issue will be gone by then. All right. Thanks again for tuning in. And I'll see you later.